Well, here we are. It is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. We're in the middle of Asia Week, a lot going on. And over the weekend, I was browsing around Christie's and Sotheby's, as I often like to do in my spare time, see what other sales have coming up. I find all of them pretty interesting. And I'm always looking for Chinese lots that are in non-specialty sales, how they do estates and so forth. And sometimes they have some good Chinese items in there mixed in with English furniture and all that. And that's always a fun way to find things. And then I came across an auction that I found rather alarming, and I'm going to get into it in a second. But at first, I want to say a couple of things. I've always thought Christie's to be one of the best auction houses in the world. I really do. Sotheby's, Christie's, Bottoms, they're all great auction houses. They do a good job. They have Christie's has a pleasant staff. They're well trained. They offer reasonable options for selling objects. They're competitive generally in the market by today's market structure. And in general, they always appear to be operating in an above-board manner without any noticeable or obvious breaches of ethics in their day-to-day operations. Yeah, they got caught up in the ETF craze a few years ago, but that quickly faded as a sort of a one-off for after a few months. But at the time, I sort of felt if you're dumb enough to buy an ETF and you believe the hype, you'd probably lose the money in some other way, a pyramid scheme or who knows what. Because anybody that knew anything about art knew that ETFs are just a big joke. But people fell for it the way they fall for all kinds of things. But then the other day, when I was browsing the upcoming sales, I noticed something that upon reflection seemed to be enabling a massive conflict of interest, and it was stated pretty much clear as day in the online catalog. And the auction, I want to get into the auction first because it's a heck of a nice auction. There's nothing wrong with the stuff. It's great stuff. And the auction is an online sale ending on March 27th, and it's titled An American Manor House. A Beverly Hills estate by Michael Smith. The antiques and the art in the sale are superb. They're really great looking English furniture, decorative art, all kinds of European stuff, great mirrors, lamps, good Japanese and Chinese art, quite a bit of it. As a matter of fact, and it was all assembled by Michael Smith. And Michael S. Smith is probably one of the preeminent interior designers in America. He's the guy that the newly rich like to run to when they want to do a house and look like they've always had money. Somebody once said. A very good taste, though. He had great taste. He's the guy you want to bring in if you want to impress your new neighbors after selling off a company or a successful tech launch or something. You can hire Michael and he'll make you look very, very civilized. Any rate, that's what he does. He also does great. He's done some great restaurants and commercial installations and whatnot. And this sale, the items in this sale seem to have been bought maybe for that purpose because the collection was started in 2001. They finished around 2010 or 11, and now it's all being sold off. All right. It's a little strange. Any rate, while I was reading the listing, every single listing had the following under sale room noticed. And I never noticed this before. And it simply said, a party with a direct interest in this lot and with material information regarding this lot may be bidding on this lot. And that struck me as being terribly unusual. Maybe it's been done before. I've never noticed it. So I contacted the head of sale and asked about it. And I said, what was the reason? Was this person an heir? Can you give me any sort of information to sort of explain why you'd allow this? And the reply was pretty curt. And brief, and it just said, I'm unable to provide any further information. All stated prices are the selling prices. And that further made it sound worse because I said, wait a minute. So the selling prices, which are very, very low, items that are worth estimated at $5,000 to $8,000, $10,000 to $15,000, have starting prices of anywhere from a couple of $100s up to maybe $1,000. Way, way, way below what the objects are going to be selling for, obviously. So in essence, it's an unreserved sale. And that was those numbers, those low numbers were very eye-catching to me. And then it does imply that the sale is largely, for all intent and purposes, unreserved. But a person with a financial interest in the sale may be bidding against you. And that's where the lie rubs and on several levels. Christie seems to be saying a person who will benefit from the auction financially can, at his or her own desire, bid against anyone participating in the sale with an absolute financial advantage if they have a financial interest in it, and getting much of his or her money back as the sales results are settled. And this struck me as being just a little bit dirty, a little bit unseemly. And you as a bidder, a potential bidder, so if you bid $10,000, you're bidding against somebody who might only be in reality, when the dust settles, only bidding 30 cents on the dollar, so, or $3,000 for a $10,000 object. So that discount, that built-in discount, seems to be rather shaky. And do I think heirs of estates never bid on objects, in essence, their own stuff? I'm sure it happens. I know that when we ran auction houses, whenever heirs said they were going to come and bid on some of the things, we'd tell them to take the stuff off the auction. We'd give it back to them. We didn't want them in the room. But no auction house should ever accept this as a condition of accepting the sale, which appears to be the case here, and should never permit it by saying so in their own catalog, because it sets sort of a bad precedent. And the fact that Christie's had the nerve to post it, I think they're going to be, I think they're going to find this sort of codified it as an option in the future for other consigners. And it sets a very, very bad precedent. And I don't think they should ever repeat it. All right. And it's just one of those sort of, odd things that has appeared. And now, it may be they're doing it because New York, as some of you know, just a year and a half or so ago, abolished the need for any auctioneer's license. And basically, all of the regulation governing auctioneers in the city the way they used to have been erased. They still have to, of course, uphold other legal obligations and so forth. But they're no longer under any, a lot of the ethical controls have been taken off. And it may be why they're doing this. I don't know. I'm not implying that it is. It just, maybe that's the reason. I'm trying to figure out what Christie's is doing here. Because it's a great sale, but once the tail begins to wag the dog, as they say, where the consignor is dictating this level of unreasonable expectations from an auction house, it sets a dangerous precedent. And I'm going to be curious to see how the sale does, because anybody with a brain reading that that is a regular auction goer is going to realize that they could be bidding against someone who's going to be getting a massive discount on the back end once the sale is settled up and everybody's paid their bill, because they're going to get back largely what they paid for any given object. Or maybe only 25% of it, but a 25% advantage is a significant advantage in an auction these days. So I don't know the whole story. The woman wouldn't tell me, and I leave it up to you. On the left, as I've been talking, you've seen the items that are going through the sale. They're all beautiful Chinese and Japanese works of art. There's nothing wrong with them, but just caveat emptor, you may be bidding against somebody who's deciding what the reserves should be on the fly. And that is a really, really strange way to do business, in my opinion. All right, that's all I have to say on this. I normally don't talk, I don't like to knock people for their screw-ups, but I'm hoping maybe Christie's will reflect on this a little bit and think about it a little bit more deeply, or maybe give some sort of explanation as to why they allowed this to happen. But it's an auction house. It's not the property of a consignor. They run the auction house. It's not up to the customer to tell the auction house or to control this kind of thing in their sale. It just isn't. It's just. I think it's just completely wrong and stupid. All right, let's see if they change their minds in the future. All right, bye-bye.